Hello and welcome back to the studio. Today I'm doing an iconic Bob Ross painting, Northern Lights, but of course with a little twist from yours truly. Now, the Northern Lights was a painting that Bob did many times over and it was a real hit, and certainly you seem to like watching them being painted as well. So I thought, let's give you a treat. Let's give you 3 versions of the same painting, just to show you how you can take elements of each painting and combine them into one really super finished work. So you know the routine, sit back and relax and watch me paint 3 versions of the Northern Lights. But I won't make you watch all of every single part. I'll just cherry pick the bits that I think will help you most paint your own version. So, happy painting. So here's my canvas, 16 inches by 20, landscape, and I've covered it with some black gesso. To start my painting I'll be using this Bob Ross liquid clear oil paint. I store a small amount in an airtight pot. This lives in my freezer, and yes, that's right, this was waxy and thick just a few moments ago, but now it's warmed up, it's turned back into liquid. I'm using an old Bob Ross 1-inch brush for this. You can tell it's got the little orange tip on the handle. I start off by marking off just a corner of my canvas and scrub it in very well. It's essential that you apply only a thin, even coat. Too much and you'll be in trouble with your painting. Here's a way to test your canvas. I've dimmed the lights and I'm using just a torch with the canvas, and you can see it leaves barely a trace. Here there's just slightly too much, and can you see it leaves a little bit of a trail. To take off the surplus you can either use a Bob Ross palette knife like I'm using and just skim it over the surface and pick up the surplus. Here, I'll wipe some on a paper towel. But if it's only just a bit too wet, just gently blot, but don't scrub. You want to take off just a small amount. So here's my palette for the first version of the Northern Lights painting. I'm going to be starting off with some Indian yellow and some bright red on that old 1-inch brush. Notice I gave it a good clean before I started. Now, along the horizon line I want to introduce the suggestion of sort of a nice orangey yellow glow. I made sure to add some below the horizon line as well. Next I use the same brush and go into a little more red, but whew, gosh, that is sure powerful. Remember, the red is a lot more opaque. Indian yellow is quite transparent, even when mixed with red. I think that's a little too red, so I use that old brush and just scrub over the canvas and pick up the surplus paint. Painting in oils is a very forgiving medium. I know some people think it might be difficult, but in actual fact it's one of the most friendly ways of learning to paint. There, I think that looks quite good. But this brush is, well, a bit contaminated now for the next colour, and I've picked up yet another old Bob Ross 1-inch brush. This time I'm going into some alizarin crimson and a little phthalo blue to make a sort of lavender colour. I couldn't use the other brush because lavender, well, mixed with red turns brown. And I wanted a cleaner colour. But I do let these colours blend a little on the edges. Now, let's go into some titanium white. This is the start of my aurora. I'm going to go into the area just above the horizon line and just use some little sort of flat strokes, a bit of a curve to it. And I want to introduce the idea that there's some light on the horizon, so maybe these are distant clouds. You decide. Now, with a little more paint on my brush, I start putting in the Northern Lights. I just want to scrub in a basic track at this stage. I think a nice diagonal shape would work well. Now, switching to a nice new Bob Ross 1-inch brush, one with a little bit less wear on it than the old brushes. Go straight in and push, and then let the brush slide up. Notice as it crosses the colours above it, it starts to pick up their tones. Give your brush a wipe every once in a while. Time for a second track. There. Dry clean that brush as you go. I did my very best to capture all the detail on my video, but sometimes your hand just gets in the way, no matter where you put your arm. But I did adopt some rather strange poses to try and reach over and around the camera lens. Painting on a black shiny surface was also another challenge, so my camera is actually at a funny angle to the canvas as well. It sort of creates a bit of a distortion, but it's the best way to capture the image. Now, you can see here, I sort of got into a bit of a Loch Ness Monster shape. Ups and downs and twiddles and roundabouts. Well, again, you learn as you go along sometimes. Here, you see a colour that I didn't tell you I put on the canvas. Phthalo green. It was right at the very top of my canvas. Now, to change those shapes a bit, I just go over them with a little bit more white and just sort of mess with them a little bit. At this stage, I'd already decided that this painting was, well, probably going to be more one for experimenting with colours than the finished work. So I just had fun. And that's what you should do with your own paintings. As you saw from my previous video, don't neglect them, don't put them to one side and start something new, but use them for experimenting with. It helps with the next painting. So I thought, let's try some reflections. But I quickly realised that actually what I wanted was some snow. So my painting was evolving. I decided on some fir trees. I took my blue, my alizarin crimson and my phthalo green and a little Prussian blue and mixed them all together to make a really dark foresty green colour. Perfect for some fir trees. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I've painted fir trees quite a bit. So there's a nice technique involved. I'll demonstrate it once, but I won't make you sit and watch them over and over and over again. That might be a bit sort of boring. Anyway, I usually start off with just marking the centre lines. I need to know where the trees start and where they finish. These particular fir trees are ones with upward facing branches. Notice how I hold the brush at an angle using just one corner and pressing. Don't let the brush slide. The pressing action makes the bristles curl up, creating the shape of a fir tree. It takes a little practice, but once you get it, they're quite easy really. Now, with a little bit of white, I pull out some shadow from the base of the trees. Remember, there's lots of yellow and lavender and green under the snow, so the more I pull the paint out, the more colour it picks up. This is all part of seeing a painting evolve. I didn't have a very fixed plan, so I just sort of followed my nose a little bit. As I add more trees to my composition, I'm just sort of working out where I want you to look as a viewer. These three big trees here on the right hand side direct your gaze to the distance. I'll add a few small bushes here and there, again, just to see what it looks like. I'll add a few finishing touches with some little sticks and twigs.
So here's version 1 of the Northern Lights painting, and I really like it. There's some really lovely elements, but I also have a little bit of a problem with some of the composition as well. My foreground appears to be almost in competition with my sky. There's almost too much of this versus too much of that. There's a little bit of a tussle going on there, but the coloration is really lovely. Maybe a touch bright in the centre here, but well, you have to decide what you want for your painting. I particularly love this foreground area. That gets a real lovely sense of depth. Now imagine if my painting was sort of trimmed off there so you didn't have the top half. I think that might give a better balance, sort of 2/3 this and maybe a little less sky. But again, these are just colour compositions which I used that you could combine into maybe a sunset painting. So you see, you get lots of ideas from watching someone else paint something, even watching yourself paint something. You think, later on, I'm going to use these colour combinations in another scene. So all the time you're painting, you're learning about colour and composition. But this is version 1, on to version 2.
I start off the second version of this painting with a slightly lower horizon line. I know from my first experiment that I want to change the order in which I apply the colour to my background. So oranges, yellows, and this time some green. Phthalo green and yellow produce a beautiful fluorescent green colour. It's a real eye popper, so be careful where you use it. I blend it well into my canvas.
This time I'm going to use some white, but I'm going to tint it. The previous version was just straight white. It was a little bit bright, but a slightly more muted colour is what I think would work best. This time I start painting the Northern Lights first. Again, using a dry, clean, nice soft 1-inch brush. I press firmly and pull straight up, allowing the brush to pick up a little of the green, and I might move some of that down into the lower section of this first band. Don't worry about that bottom edge. I'll come back and just soften it up with a few flicks of my brush. I decided to brighten this section of my painting a little more. I went back and tapped in some more of that soft off-white colour. This was probably one of the most challenging paintings I've ever tried to film. It appears to be extremely bright on screen, but in real life it was much more muted, so bear with me. I've added some more bright colours across my sky, and again press and pull up. Here you see I've put the blue colours at the top of my canvas, so I switched the positions. Now you can see I've added the third band to my Northern Lights, and well, once again I can see that I've run into some problems already. I'll pull down this little edge here just to soften it slightly. Just for a little variety, I'm doing some downward facing branches on these trees. Notice this time that I'm holding the brush with the handle at a low angle. Again, still pressing, but of course this creates a lovely downward sweep to the branches. I'm speeding my way through this because, well, as I said, you don't really want to see me painting lots and lots of trees. I'm toning down the colour again, using just a little bit of yellow mixed in with this white colour. As before, I pull out a little bit of shadow from these background trees, but the scale is much smaller this time. I want these to look much further away on the horizon line. I continue adding banks of snow, pulling out the shadow under the trees, but take note, this little shadow is important to divide up the layers of snow. I stand back from my painting, and whilst I like the foreground, this sky looks a bit too sort of stripy and streaky. I want to try and soften it slightly, so I'm using a Bob Ross blender brush. I don't often use them in my paintings, but for this particular sky, they work rather well. Maybe I'll use that on the finished painting.
So this is version 2 of the Northern Lights painting, and again there are elements of this I really like. I'm not so keen on this sort of effect though. It looks like a deck chair or a piece of curtain material, but well, there you go. You can make these little hiccups as you paint, but I learned something else about it. I really like the slightly smaller foreground, so it's not in competition with my Northern Lights. So I think in future I might be using this little piece in my next painting and maybe changing this a little bit. I don't really want to be painting a curtain or a deck chair. Not yet anyway.
As you see, I've already applied the colour to my sky. Once more, I start off by putting in a rough outline of some clouds and maybe the foreground snow. Then I get the bright idea of adding something else to my painting, another evolution. I think a nice distant hill or a small mountain might be quite nice to lead your eye into the distance. I stand back, but my little mountain doesn't really show up enough. I'll add just another little hint of colour, just enough to make it stand out from the background sky. For my Northern Lights, I tint my white with a slight green colour this time. I think the yellow was a little bit too, well, forceful. I also decided to go for a classic sort of curl shape. I really think that works well for the Northern Lights. The stripes, well, a bit too bold, you saw in my little explanation of the reasons why I had to paint this a third time. I start off by doing the upward strokes on the lower section first. Notice also that I'm using that very soft blender brush. It gives a lovely soft finish to my painting. And here you can see I'm trying to paint over the top of the camera lens. Now let's add the second part of this curl. I like to do them in 2 stages, that way one colour doesn't bump into the other and create a really big mess. I'm still undecided as to whether I'm going to do a second curl or not. So I hedge my bets and just put a bit more paint on there. Now another one of those contortions. I'm standing on tiptoe and leaning over, but it was the only way I could film this for you. Just a few flicks of the brush just to soften up that lower edge. And I think I'm really pleased with it and decide not to add a second curl. Sometimes you can just have too much of a good thing, but I couldn't resist just doing a few soft sideward strokes. There, finished. I used the same foreground as in my second version. Once again, don't forget, save that little shadow there. It's so important to break up your banks of snow. If you want to support my channel, don't forget, give this painting a little thumbs up. You can go one step further and subscribe to my channel. That way, when I release new content, you'll be the first to know. But don't forget, ring the little bell icon. That lets YouTube know that you need a little notification. I put out a new video pretty much every Sunday, and I wouldn't want you to miss it. Thank you. Notice how I spend a few moments softening the snow in that foreground, but I don't kill off all those little dark areas. It gives my painting a real lovely sense of depth. I just increased the exposure on my camera slightly so you can see that in more detail. Once again, this was a very tricky painting to film, so I hope I've captured all the detail for you. I stand back from my painting often. It's one of my top tips. I decided that my trees, well, they look a bit underwhelmed, and these bushes look a bit too dark. So I add the smallest amount of sparkle to them. White with a tiny hint of that lovely luminous green colour. I just want them to stand out slightly against the background and from each other. I'll add a touch to these two, but nothing for those distant trees. I'm keeping those in silhouette. Now final touches. Let's add a few little frozen sticks and twigs. Against the dark colour, I use a little white, and of course, where I'm painting against white, I use a little dark. It's a neat trick. It works a treat. I add a few more strokes to the snow just to smooth things out, and with that, I have a finished painting. Northern Lights, a classic Bob Ross painting.
So here it is, version 3 of the Northern Lights, a classic Bob Ross painting. Some elements of this painting from both of the other two. I decided I wanted the slightly smaller foreground, which looked really nice, and I really wanted to put that little curl in that Bob used in his own paintings. I think it worked better than the candy stripe effect. So there you have it, Northern Lights by Bob Ross, with a little twist from yours truly. But don't move, there's another lovely painting coming right along for you to watch. Happy painting, people. So yeah, I have to watch this design, and I might not be doing this in future. And that was the cat flap, as usual. How did they tie? They sit outside waiting for me to open my big gob.